Okay. So today, we have moved into the Feast of Tabernacles. And first, if you remember, we've been speaking about trumpets, we've been speaking about the Day of Atonement, and now we're into Tabernacles. Now, everything comes down to Tabernacles because Tabernacles is actually what you've been laboring for all this time. You've been waiting for a body. Tabernacle is actually the body that you're actually waiting for. And the tabernacle is what Yahweh is going to be dwelling in. So all that we have done, and we'll see this in the feast circuit from the very first moon to the seventh moon, is actually telling us how to come to tabernacles. Now, if we will look at everything, we'll see that the first moon and the seventh moon, they're just pretty much bookends. And in those bookends, if you really look, you'll see the correlation, the relationship. You have the first of the moon in both of them. You'll have the 10th of the moon in both of them. You'll even have the 14th of the moon in both of them, and the 15th of the moon in both of these. So we get on course, or I would say, get on the path on the first moon. And this is the new moon is a symbol of a renewal, a regeneration. So we get on that, and we now get on the path. We get on the path, and it says, so in the first moon, this is what you got to look out for the first moon, because this is going to be the beginning of your moon. This is the beginning of your path in your journey. And on the 10th day of that journey, it tells you to choose a lamb and pin this lamb up. And of course, this lamb is not just a physical lamb. This lamb is the only begotten Son, the lamb that was already slain before the foundation of the world. It's dead to all errors. It's dead to all sin. And you and I have to contemplate this, because this is what we're taking in. Okay, so if you take the lamb, if you kill the lamb, you're actually taking its life. So its life becomes your life. And so we move into the 14th day that we kill the lamb. And then the 15th day, we start a process of getting rid of, not partaking of any thing that is leaven. Okay, so we're going to put down, this is really what we're doing in putting down our ego, because the ego is the biggest issue we have when it comes to leavening. Okay, leavening, when you think leavening, just don't think of baking soda and things of that sort. I mean, you can, as far as the physical things that you got to clean up, whatever. When you think of it spiritually, think of the ego. The ego that wrestles against those things that we have to come into compliance with. So we think about that. So we put that down, and if we're able to do that, we surrender to our Father. We're able to surrender. But if we don't do that, we can't surrender. There's no way to surrender, because we still have this ego. So we have to empty. We have to get rid of that. We have to move that out. We have to purge that. The whole thing is to get that ego to once again serve your Creator. This is what we're trying to do. So if you move from there now, and okay, we got Pentecost, that the Spirit comes. Okay, the Spirit is directing you, it's guiding you. So you move on to the end, the 7th, and you have trumpets, which now, if you remember Yahshua, he was led into the wilderness because the Spirit drove him there. Okay? But if you remember, after he went through the test, it says Malachim came and ministered to him. This is like trumpets. Malachim comes and they minister to you too when you go through that. Okay, so you have trumpets, and then everything left him. He was really great, and then you had what you call a marriage, which is atonement, becoming one. This is a marriage. Now, when we truly become one with our Creator, then we're able to become vessels of honor, vessels that the Creator could use to do whatever the Creator wants to be done wherever, because we have put ourselves down. It's no longer us. We have put us down, and now we have become that burnt offering, and that burnt offering is what's pleasing to the Father, because the Father could use you and I for anything the Father wants to. And this is actually when you have atoned, and then we move into those offices. Okay, this is, it says you will dwell in booths. These are the offices that you will be taken on, or whoever makes that is going to be taken on, because they're going to become the individuals who are going to influence the world now. because they're going to be redeemed from among men. And when they're redeemed from among men, they inherit these booths. These booths are simply the offices. You have Luciferians who have a booth. They have booths also, and those booths that they have, these are offices that they, at this point, influence the world through. But they influence the world through darkness. But whoever makes it, they're going to influence the world through light. Okay. So now let's go ahead and turn over to Leviticus chapter 23 for our first scripture. And excuse me here because I don't have my glasses today, so I'm going to just try to do my best. My wife is going to sacrifice her own vision. I have these colorful days. Okay. So anyway, chapter 23. And we're going to look at verse 36. I'll start at verse 36. Okay. And of course, chapter 23 of Leviticus is telling you all about the feast. So we have all the feasts in there. And in verse 36 here, it says, let's go to verse 34. It says, "Speak to the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day of the 7th moon is the Feast of Tabernacles, for 7 days unto Yahweh. On the first day there shall be a holy convocation. You shall do no regular work on it. But for 7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire to Yahweh. On the 8th day you shall have a holy convocation." This is the last great day. "And you shall offer an offering made by fire to Yahweh. It is the closing gathering." It's the gathering. It's actually those who are redeemed from among men. It's gathering you, okay? The closing gathering, "and you shall do no customary work, no regular work on it." Now, this work that it's talking about is you won't be laboring because you will have the Spirit to really understand now, and you will be laboring, fighting with the ego because you would have joined your forces with your Father and been able to have the power to put it down, to arrest it. So here in verse 37 it says, "These are the feasts of Yahweh which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire to Yahweh, a burnt offering, a grain offering, a sacrifice, and a drink offering required on each day." And this is actually telling us, if we look at it and we understand the symbols, a burnt offering is totally giving yourself up, because when there's a burnt offering, everything is burnt to your Father. And your Father takes that as a sweet-smelling aroma. So it's something that is pleasing. What is pleasing to him? When you do what he says. That's what Yahshua told us. He says his Father will do everything for him because he does what is pleasing to the Father. He does whatever the Father says to do. So it's the same thing with us. It's no difference. Okay, and now a grain offering, this is you and I and whoever else, if we make it, okay, being tried, being sifted until we become that perfect grain that we could be made into something that is nourishing to give to the people, to feed somebody. So we have to now become something pleasing to the Father, and we have to have the ability to feed. And this food is not physical grain. This food is the fruits of the Spirit, that when you have this, now we're going to be the individuals who are going to influence the people with this grain, okay, this grain offering. So we're going to offer ourselves as that. So it's very important that we know what we have to do with our Father. It says a sacrifice, okay? And remember, in there we had a sacrifice of a ram in Trumpets and in Atonement, and we have a sacrifice of 7 lambs of the first year. So we have to come with a sacrifice. The sacrifice is us. So we have to come with that sacrifice. And it says a drink offering. Now, if you remember, Shaul said, "I am poured out like a drink offering." So a drink offering is when you and I give ourselves into what we're doing for our Father. We have to give ourselves into it. So this is the drink offering. We can't be thinking about what I want here and this and that, and this is difficult, so I'm not going to do that. And we can't cherry pick what we're going to do, what we're not going to do. We have to pour ourselves into it based upon what you have seen and heard from your Father. This is where it's at. So we go a little further now. So this is required for every day. So now don't look at this as a feast that is just going on for 7 days and then the 8th day. And then so we do this for we do this as the children of Israel did every single day. No, when you get to this point, this is who you are. This is what you do every single day. You give yourself in this manner. This is who the person becomes. That person becomes someone who does things that's pleasing to the Father. They have given themselves up. This is their life. This is their lifestyle from then on. Okay? That's what they do. Okay, so now Moshe set this up as a pattern of a pattern that he saw, but what he really saw are the spiritual things that we're talking about here today. That's what he really saw, but he had to bring it down to the earth. And when he brought it to the earth, he would have told the children of Israel, but the children of Israel weren't ready for that. So he had to put it, veil it, as he showed, put a veil, and the veil is actually what we're looking at right now, veil. So we go a little further here, and it says in verse 38, it says, these offerings are in addition to those for Yahweh's Sabbath, and in addition to your gifts, and whatever you have vowed, and all the freewill offerings you give to Yahweh. Now, in verse 39, notice this here. It says, on the 15th day of the 7th moon, when you have gathered in the fruits of your land. You are gathered in all the fruits of the influence, the land. Well, you will be the fruits. See, the Malachim are gonna be the gatherers. They're gonna be the ones who do the gathering, and you're the fruits of that whole labor. But you're doing this in the earth also, because you have fruits that you're going to gather in and take to that feast. So in the physical world, you do the same thing. But the Malachim are the reapers. Okay? And you are the fruits of the reaping. So this is what's happening. It comes to this time, and Yahweh pours out his Spirit. And those who are going to follow, they're going to take it, and they're going to do what he says. But not everybody's going to do it just because the Spirit is poured out, because some will get it, and they will, because it tells us everyone will wake up, okay? Some to everlasting righteousness, to some to everlasting contempt and shame. So not everyone is going to do it, okay? And shame is simply disobedience when we don't do what the Father said to do. That's all shame is, okay? So some to everlasting life. What is life? Life is when we take that Spirit and allow that Spirit to direct us wherever it wants us to go. This is life. Okay? Shame is the same thing the Luciferians have done. Same thing Adam has done. Adam, in the beginning, it says, they were naked and felt no shame. Okay? So shame is what came after they did whatever they did and found out that they weren't what they were before. What they understood themselves to be. Something had come in. So some will be everlasting shame, and some will actually not do what Adam actually did, which was simply move off the path. Now, we have to see the path and stay on the course. So now, here goes that. You must keep the feast unto Yahweh for 7 days. Okay? It says, on the first day you shall have a Sabbath, and on the 8th day a Sabbath. Notice what it says here. So it's talking about the 15th day. It says, on the day before. So it's telling you on the 14th day, just like the first moon, because on the first moon you're going to have the Passover, which is on the 14th. So the Passover is an event. It's not the 15th. They call it the Passover, but the Feast of Unleavened Bread starts on the 15th. The Passover is on the 14th day when you actually kill the lamb. Okay, so you have the 14th day. This is the 14th day too. The same thing. Okay, so it says, on the day before, you shall take choice. Now, there are things that we're doing here. You shall take choice fruits from the trees. Now, this is something that we're taking, but spiritually, when we take, guys, this is not. It's not a physical thing. When we take physically, we use our hands and we do this thing, and we take this cup right here. We move it. That's physical taking. When we take spiritually, it's a perception of your mind. It's not physical things. You're not doing something physically, because when you move your spiritual body, you don't have physical hands. Your hands are spirit, and your hands are controlled by mind. Okay, that's the power of moving and taking things. So what we're doing now is perceiving. When we imagine, we image something and we image our world. Imagination is really imaging your world, nation. It's a nation and image. So when you imagine something, okay, this is a perception that you're putting in there. So on this time now, you're going to be totally someone different because you're going to have power to do different things. So you're taking your mental power now, and okay, so you're taking choice fruits, and these fruits that you have are the teachings that Yahweh has given us, the fruits of the Spirit, okay, from the trees. Now the trees is from the priest. Remember who we said the priest? The priest are? The priest is your higher self. So we're taking this from the priest because now you're connected to your higher self. Your higher self, remember your higher self blew the trumpet, or the priest blew the trumpet? But the trumpet is the Malachim. And the Malachim and the trumpet gave a sound. And that sound is the frequency or the message from the Malachim. But the priest is the one that's in control of it. So now you're taking something, or you're perceiving something from the priest. The fruits, which are the teachings of the Spirit, the fruits of the Spirit that you're getting from the priest, and you connect with your inner man. Because the priest ministers in the temple. You're outside the temple, you come inside and you meet the priest at the altar. The sacrificial altar that's outside, because there's an altar inside too. So this is the one that's outside before you get to the laver. So you meet there, but you're meeting yourself. You're meeting who you really are. You're meeting the guy that you became disconnected and fell into a little world. Okay, so this is what you're meeting. Okay, now don't tell anybody this because they may think you're crazy when you start saying something like that. But that's the inner man. So Shaul told you he wants to do things based upon the inner man. The inner man is the one that controls things inside the holy place, who is opened up because the veil is rent, so he could go inside the most holy place right now. But he ministers and he does whatever has to be done to the altar of incense. He does whatever has to be done to the showbread, to the lampstand. He does that. He's in control of that. If he doesn't do something with it, it's not going to work. So he's the one who has control over all those, and those are not furnishings. Those are entities. Entities. That's who they are. Okay, so now we are looking here now. He says, on the first day, take those things right there. Okay, and palm branches, leafy branches, and willows of the brook, and you shall rejoice in front of Yahweh for 7 days. 7 days. These are all things, when you take these things, the things that's going to give you shade, covering. These are all things that Yahweh is using to protect you from what you would have otherwise be subject to if you hadn't been removed, hadn't been gathered. Okay? So we've been still subject to certain things here, but now we're gathered. So Yahweh is showing this to us. Now, let's look at something here because we're seeing there's something else that is being spoken on in here. Okay, and so this tabernacle that we're dealing with, this tabernacles. If you look at all that's happening here, these are all things that we're doing. This is based upon our labor. Yahweh says, take this, do this, do this, do this, do this. This is all laboring that you and I are doing. So everything is going to be based upon our labor. And the laboring that you're doing is not just physical. The labor is with mind. Okay, so when you take something, this is laboring, but it's not laboring just with the hands. So let's keep that in mind. Okay, now let's go over to Exodus chapter 40. Okay, Exodus chapter 40. And we're going to look at this a little bit now, because remember what I said, this is what everything is about. This is the whole feast circuit is you setting up this tabernacle. It's you setting up that body to have the indwelling of the oneness with your Father and being able to take that office, which then will be the new heavens, okay? And what you do with the new heavens, what does the heavens do? Influence the earth. So if there's new heavens and new influence coming from the heavens, there's going to be a new earth, okay? So now you have heavens and principalities and powers in high places, heavens, and they actually influence that which is in the earth, and they bring a lot of darkness here. So now that's where we are right now. But that's going to change. We have new heavens. Okay, so if you have new heavens, you're going to have new earth. Now, the whole thing is us coming, setting ourselves up to receive this power, setting the tabernacle up, setting our bodies up. Okay, so in chapter 40, let's look at verse 2. Okay. It says, on the first day of the first moon, we're going back to the first moon, you shall set up the tabernacle. You see that? So you're actually getting ready for all this from the first moon. You're not doing it on the seventh moon. The seventh moon is the culmination of everything. When the gathering finally comes in and whatever you have set up, now you're going to be getting indwelling into that tabernacle. That tabernacle is your vessel and not just a physical vessel. So it says here, okay, you shall set up the tabernacle of the tent of meetings. And it goes here, it tells you, you shall put in the ark of the testimony and partition off the ark with a veil. But you're setting it up, and it's veiled for now. Because everybody's not ready for everything. But on the first moon, you're going to set it up. And you and I won't be able to see everything. The time that we will see, though. Now, let's go over to Revelations. So in the first moon that we see that we're setting up this tabernacle. Let's go over to Revelations chapter 21. Revelations chapter 21. In Revelations chapter 21, let's look at verse 3. Okay? Now let's go to verse 1. 21 and look at verse 1. It says, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, Yachanan, saw the holy city Yahweh Shema, and Yahweh Shema is like Yahweh's there, coming down from Yahweh out of heaven. Now, don't look for something physically coming out the sky. They may do that. They may do that. But that's not what Yahweh is talking about. Okay? Because the kingdom of heaven is in you. You got to remember that. So what's going to be happening is you're going to make contact and something is going to be coming down into you. Just like Yahshua did. Yahshua showed you the very same thing. Something came down into him. You say, he looked, okay, he perceived. Look at your scripture. It says he perceived. This is how he takes. He said, he perceived as a bodily figure coming in and entering into him. He was putting this in the mind, and he felt this and saw it. And he heard a voice. And that voice testified that what was entering into him was the only begotten Son. Heaven was in him. Well, the same thing with you. Heaven is going to come into you. It's doing it right now, okay, to some of us. I mean, and it may be to all of us. Who knows? I don't know. I can't speak for everybody. So this is coming down out of heaven. Notice, it's prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. Now, if you know what this bride is, this bride, go back to Genesis, it's not proper for man to be alone. So I'm going to make him a helpmate. This is a bride that's adorned with everything to be used with the husband. And with this new job, they're going to influence the children. Because they're going to be in the new heavens, okay? When heaven comes into them and they become one with heaven, they're heaven. They're going to influence those guys who didn't take everything with heaven. And these guys now, with what's there, they're going to have the Spirit of Yahweh in their tabernacles, just like these guys just got the Spirit of Yahweh in their bodies. This is the tabernacle. Okay? So now we go to verse 3. So these brides are adorned for their husbands. And I heard a great voice from heaven, and this is the Malachim also, out of heaven, saying, because you're hearing this. Yachanan is hearing this, but it's not, but this is inside Yachanan. Behold, the tabernacle of Yahweh is with men. The tabernacle of Yahweh is with men. This tabernacle of Yahweh is the body of Yahweh, it's the consciousness. Now it's with the people. It has come down, and the effects of tabernacle is with the people. And this tabernacle is the body of Yahweh, which the body of Yahweh is not physical, guys. It's a consciousness. And that consciousness now is with the bodies of people. And this is the tabernacle of Yahweh that they have right now, because the true tabernacle of Yahweh is not made with hands. It's not made with stones, at least not physical ones. Okay? So here comes something, and it's coming down into people, but you can't look at, well, the tabernacle of Yahweh, the body of Yahweh is coming down. Well, you can, but we have to understand the dimensions by which they come. Okay? So the body of Yahweh is not just physical that we see here. So if we consider the tabernacle of Yahweh, we have to consider spiritual things, or spirit things. So this tabernacle comes down, and now it's with men. So the consciousness of Yahweh is with people in the earth. And this earth is a new earth, because it has something totally different now that it is vibing with. It's not chasing the ego. I mean, the ego is not moving to do its own thing, but it is adorned as a bride for husband. And they're working together to get the job done, and those in the earth are like children. Okay, so now we go a little further here. It says, and he will dwell with them, and they will be his people, and Yahweh himself will be with them, or you can say in them, and be their father. Because now the tabernacle has come down. This is actually what the Feast of Tabernacles, or one of the things that the Feast of Tabernacles is trying to get us to see. Remember, Shaul says, don't let no man, judge you in this and that, and the feast days, whatever, because it's all a shadow of what's to come. Well, this is what's to come. Okay? All what is to come. Now, let's go over to Ephesians. Okay, over to Ephesians. But before we go there, because I didn't read verse 4. Okay, but we're going to go to Ephesians next. Verse 4, though, he says, and Yahweh will wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there will be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, nor will there be any more pain, for the former things that we were subject to are now gone. They're passed away. They're gone. And things are going to be made new, because guess what we have in the throne of the kingdom? The throne of the body. The throne of the body, now we have our Father. The aspect of our Father. That's what's there. Okay, now let's go to Ephesians chapter 2. Ephesians chapter 2. Okay, and in Ephesians chapter 2, let's look at verse 21. So Ephesians chapter 2, look at verse 21. Okay? Let's start there. And it says here, it says, in whom the whole house, being fitly joined together by Yahweh, grows into the holy house of Yahweh. Or you can say the tabernacle of Yahweh. Okay? The tabernacle. In whom the whole tabernacle, being fitly joined together by Yahweh, grows into a holy house. Okay, verse 22. And in him, in Yahweh, you are being built together to become the tabernacle. The tabernacle, the house of Yahweh, by the Spirit that you have to receive. By the Spirit that we have to receive. When we make that sacrifice, okay, first we have to get on the path. The first move, we have to set that tabernacle up to receive the Spirit in the first place. Because if we receive a Spirit and the tabernacle is not ready, then we're going to have new wines in old wineskins and we're going to have some problems. Okay? So we have to set up the tabernacle so we can receive something. The 10th day, okay, we have to set our minds that we're going to take in the Spirit of the only begotten Son, because this is what we're going to be taking in. So we're going to contemplate this. Make it real. And you don't make it real by the physical lamp that you go and take. No, we have to perceive it. You have to perceive it. It's a perception. It's spirit. You have to imagine. Your imagination have to come in. You have to create that world. And that world is created within, inside. You have to do it. Now, you tell somebody this, they're going to think you're crazy. Your imagination's all over the place. But that's what they're doing with our children now. They don't want your children to imagine anything. That's why your children all of a sudden have all these ADD and they have medication. Because when they get on medication, they can't imagine. There's no imagination there. They can't practice creating a world. They can't do it. Okay? When you're removed from all those things and you're able to not look at the things of the world and put the Father and imagine and meditate upon the laws of your Father day and night, then you're able to image the world that your Father is creating, which is in you, the tabernacle. The tabernacle, the house that your Father wants to come into and sit there, dwell with you, partake, eat with you, feed, share with you. That's what we're looking for, okay? That's part of what Tabernacles is trying to teach us. So we go a little further here. So, and in him you are being built together to become the tabernacle of Yahweh through this Spirit, through the Spirit of your Father. Now, we're going to go back to Revelations, okay? And we're going to go to Revelations chapter 3. This is something that is happening with everyone because it's there. We just have to do our part so the door is open. The doors, and these doors are open. If we get ourselves caught up in the things that they said they put on TV for us, guys, the door is not going to open. If we get ourselves caught up on the things us on the phone, the pleasures of the world, the door won't open. We have to give up our lives. So it says. He says, he who saves his life, which is what the ego is all about. If we allow that ego to move, we save our lives. But we're going to lose it. And he who loses that life, in other words, sacrifice the ego. That's what the sacrifices are. Put that ego down and get that ego to work in line with your higher man. That individual, he who loses that life, is going to save it. He will have it. He'll have what we're talking about right here. Okay, so in Revelation chapter 3, let's go and look at verse 20. Let's go to verse 19. Chapter 3, look at verse 19. Notice here it says, as many as I love, I prove and chasten. Now, proving you and chastening you guys is all part of that grain offering. You have to be sifted 7 times. Okay? The life that's in you has to be shed. That's all part of the Father doing this now. Okay? This is the chastening that we have to go through. He says, be zealous, therefore, and repent. Repent means changing our minds. We have seen that the ego is not working for us. Now we need to put that down, empty that guy, okay, of the life that he has right now, and so he will be filled with the life of your higher man, the inner man. So both of them could serve your Father. So here we go. Be zealous, therefore, and repent. Change. Get on the path. Get into the first moon, observe it, start moving. Okay, the 10th day, get to the 14th day, get to the 15th day, get to Pentecost, get to the 7th moon, and let's move this thing along. Okay? Because this is what your Father is directing us to. Set up the body and get something in that body that the Father is given by Spirit. So he says. Now in verse 20, it says, behold, I stand at the door and knock. And knock. If anyone hears me, or hears my voice, and opens the door, I will come into him, and will eat with him, and he with me. Now Moshe set this up in the law also. Okay? Because you come in, you meet the priest, and you're sharing a meal with the priest. Of course, you're not sitting down at the table there, because that's not how they have it. They have you come in with a sacrifice, and you kill that sacrifice, and you give the priest certain portions, and you take certain portions. But the sacrifice, you're sharing the meal. You're sharing the meal. You're both having parts of it. Your higher man and the lower man, they're sharing a meal, but you're connected. You're having some things in common here, okay? So, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears me, and the thing about it is, whatever we see and what we hear, if you hear my voice and open the door, this door is in our minds. We can't look for a door outside. This door is inside. I will come into him. Do you see where the door leads, guys? In us. In us. I will come into him. And I will eat with him. What's there to eat? Look in the temple. The temple, what you're going to eat is what's of the showbread, which is made with fine flour, and the sacrifices, the meal. You're going to share this. Okay? And he with me. This is a union. This is atonement. This is a union. Okay? Now, we see that. Now, he goes here now. He who has an ear, or who is able to understand this, let him hear, notice what's being spoken here, what the Spirit says to the called out ones of the tabernacle that Yahweh is going to dwell in. What the Spirit says. It's at the house of Yahweh, but it's about the tabernacle. What the Spirit says to the tabernacle. The body, those who have the vestiges of your Father. This is actually what it's talking about here. Okay? Or should I say, one of the things that it's talking about here. Okay? So we're looking at that. Now, let's go to verse 21 now. Okay, because I went down to verse 22 just now. Let's go back up to verse 21. To him who overcomes, this is the sacrifice, this is repenting, this is getting on the path and not turning back, I will grant to sit with me on my throne, as I also overcame and sat down with my Father on his throne. This is controlling your vessel. Okay? Controlling your vessel. You will have power over you. That's the seat of the throne. You having power, mental power, over your emotions. It's not let anyone move you to and fro, but you are settled because you're trusting in the Father. This is what it is. In verse 22, I just read that, but I go back here. He who has an ear, let him hear. It's the Spirit that's speaking, guys. The Spirit are the messengers. And they're giving you food. That food is bread. Bread, manna from heaven. Manna from heaven. Yahshua said, your fathers ate manna in the wilderness and they died. He said, I give you the true manna, that which comes down from heaven from my Father. This is actually the manna that we are partaking of. Right? Where does the manna go? You partake of it. Where does it go? It goes in the vessel. It goes in the tabernacle. That's what sustains the tabernacle, the real tabernacle. Okay? So you have a tabernacle here, but when this goes down, remember Shaul says, I have a tabernacle in heaven. That's a body. It's another body. Okay, so now we're going to go over to John, or 1 John, I should say. Let's go over to 1 John, and we're going to look at 1 John chapter 4. 1 John chapter 4, and let's look at verse 4. Verse 4. It says, you are of Yahweh, little children, and have overcome them. This is all the plagues and the world that we're talking about. So notice here, you are of Yahweh. If we're not of Yahweh, there's no overcome. Well, that spirit is not going to come in. If we don't make that sacrifice, it's not happening. Remember, Yahshua told us, okay, if you go to make a sacrifice, and while you're at the altar, there you remember that your brother has something against you. Leave the sacrifice there. This is the reason why you got to leave the sacrifice there, and go and make it right with your brother, then come back. Because if we don't make it right with our brother, guess what? We're holding something still. We can't go any further. That's why we have to leave the sacrifice there, because the sacrifice wouldn't be accepted anyway. Because while you're there, Yahweh brought something to your mind. In mind. His spirit said, remember so-and-so and so, your brother John Paul is not this and that because you did these things to him. So the law already said, or Yahshua already said, man, if I come here and I remember while I'm here that something is up, then I got to go fix that. Or else my sacrifice is not going to be counted. So I go and I fix it. I got to humble myself, fix it. When I come back, the sacrifice will be accepted. But it's not going anywhere. So it's telling us there's the overcoming that has to be done, because if we don't overcome, hey, it's not going anywhere. Nothing is going to be taking place. Little children, okay, you're of Yahweh and have overcome. Notice the reason why. Because greater is he who is in you, who came and is supping with you and you with him, because now the channels have been opened up. Okay, you have gone in and you made a sacrifice. You're eating with him and he's partaking. You have that experience together. If you're not having that experience together, okay, and you don't have to be, you're going on an astral journey or anything. It doesn't have to be anything all that fabulous. All you got to do is have a clear conscience. You know the word, what the Father says. Okay, if you know it, you do it. If you have a clear conscience, you're good. That's what we need. Okay, a clear conscience. Okay, so you've overcome this world, okay, and you've out all the plagues and everything, because greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world that's causing all these things to take place, because they want to keep you in the place that you don't have imagination. They want to dumb you down. Okay, with all our senses, the physical senses. So they want to poison us with the taste that we eat. They want to poison us with what we see. Our passions and desires get all really messed up. They want to poison us with the things that we listen to. They want to poison us with the things that we smell. Everything that smells great is not great for us, guys. I tell you, all these perfumes, they will cause your brain to shatter. Okay? And the taste, what we see, what we hear, we smell, what we feel, all these things that they have there, they have created something to take us off course with our very senses. That's what they do, because they don't want you to have connection. They don't want you to connect. They want you to chase your senses that they have hijacked with the ego. They have hijacked it. That's why we have all these issues. We need medication, because they make us believe We need their medication to just be healthy. While we had fathers 3,500 years ago that were healthy, lived 200 years old, whatever. We had them. We had those guys. And these guys were going out into the bushes to get stuff to deal with themselves. Today, we need pharmaceuticals. They want you to believe. We need pharmaceuticals. And we need to take it for the rest of our lives once we get sick. Don't you get off. You need it for the rest of your life to keep everything good. We're toxifying ourselves. So we do. We're putting toxins in. Toxins. We're loading down the body. And the body is like dirt. It's like earth. And once that light is in there and the toxins come over, you're burying things. It's getting harder for that plant to come out of that dirt and show itself to or connect with the sun. You think about it. You plant a seed, and you put more dirt over that seed, and more dirt over that seed, and more dirt over that seed. That seed is not going to show itself. It's not going to pop itself out and say, light, sun. Now I can put my leaves out, okay, and I can feel this energy, and everything will be good because I'm putting dirt and I'm keeping it in darkness. There's no way for it to expand and grow and reach to what really counts. It's not going to happen. So, we're looking at chapter 4 here. Okay? Not chapter 4. Chapter 4, but verse 4. Okay? And so, it says, greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. There is something in you then. There's something in you. And that thing that's in you is dormant until you and I make the proper sacrifice. And we looked at the sacrifice for tabernacles, and we looked at the sacrifice for trumpets and for atonement, and you go and you look at the sacrifice for Pentecost and all that's in the first moon. You look at all those and the instructions because they're telling you things. Yet Moshe set it up as physical things to do, but they're spiritual things for you to do. And once we get those things and we do them, we come online, the first moon. He tells us to set this body up and make sure these things are there, and the body is being treated in this manner until it comes to the seventh moon, and that body could function in unity in connection with the power. So he's telling us. We gotta connect. Okay, let's go to Zechariah or Zechariah. Okay, Zechariah. And we're going to go to Zechariah chapter 14. Okay, so Zechariah chapter 14. And we're going to look at verse 16. Okay? So if you look at Zechariah, Zechariah is telling us a whole bunch of plagues that's coming upon the earth. It's a prophet of Yahweh. He's telling us certain things are going to be there. And in chapter 14 and verse 16, he says, then it will come to pass that everyone who survives of all the nations, that means something is going to be happening that's going to affect all the nations. No one is going to escape it by running the way the nations tell you to run, because they're going to be subject to this. We got to escape it based upon something that Yahweh tells us to do. So all the nations are going to go through this. So it says, the nations which came against Jerusalem. Now, you could look at the physical nations that come against Jerusalem, but you could look at it also in another area. Because Jerusalem is the people of peace. The individuals who are going to teach this world peace. So, yes, physical prophecies show you that they come against Jerusalem and the United Nations doing that physically. But these same people who make those rules, they're coming against you. They're going to make it that you can't buy and sell. They're coming against you too. The individuals who see Yahweh and understand, have the messages of Yahweh, and say, listen, we're about peace. and we want our bodies, our vessels, to be clear. We don't want it all caught up with this. They're coming against you too. They're coming against you too because they want to control you from spirit. They want to control you from inside. And once they put certain things inside of you, you won't even be able to think and reach out anymore. Because they'll be putting that dirt on top of there, they'll have you. They'll have us. So, in this now, it says that it will come to pass that everyone who, of the nations who came against Jerusalem, which is the people that brings forth peace, will also go up from year to year to worship the King Yahweh of hosts. Notice what it says, by keeping the Feast of Tabernacles. By keeping the Feast of Tabernacles. Now, the Feast of Tabernacles, remember we're saying this is not something that we necessarily come to, because Shaul said it's a shadow. What all that Moshe put down is a shadow of something to come. So the Feast of Tabernacles is more than you just gathering for this feast that Moshe set up. If you also notice, in the after time, after the redemption, this is the only feast that's mentioned that you will keep all through your scriptures. Passover is not there, okay? Pentecost is not there. Trumpets is not there. Atonement is not there. This is the only one that shows. Why? Why? Because that's all that it's about. The whole thing is about you setting up that body and setting that body up that your Father dwells in there. And this is tabernacles. Anyone who the Spirit of the Father is not in, and who is going to be moving in that manner, cannot receive the blessings of the Father. And that's what it says. The rain won't come in the next verse. The rain is the blessings. These are spiritual things. It's telling us spiritual concepts. But it was set up physically or intellectually for us to see and think about it. But once we start making the connection or we start making the sacrifices, our mind starts to open up about what it's really saying. And we know now it's not just saying physical things, but it's saying something else. So they're going to keep the Feast of Tabernacle, but the Feast of Tabernacle is actually when we set up that tabernacle, the body, and we receive certain things in that body, the Spirit of the Father in that body, and the Spirit of the Father in that body. With that, you will be able to bless yourself. You will have control. You will know exactly where to go, what to do. You will have the power. But if you don't have the power, the blessings don't come because you won't know what to do. So any one of the nations, when those who are redeemed from men, okay, are dealing with the nations, because the nations will be their children at that time, and they will be redeemed from men, from among men. Those who are ruling in heaven now, they won't be, because you have new heavens. They will be the ones who are now influencing those who are in the earth. So a spirit is coming to those in the earth. And if those in the earth don't take that spirit, they won't be built up. They won't know what to do. So everyone has to go and keep the tabernacle, the Feast of Tabernacles, in the sense of a spiritual tabernacle, Feast of Tabernacles. Not in the sense that we go and cut down boughs and trees and that and make sacrifices of animals. Yahweh's not looking for that. He already told us, he's not looking for that. He's looking for you and I to prepare a vessel, a body. That's what it's all about. Sacrifice and offerings I did not desire, did not want, but a body. A body. Tabernacle. I'm preparing for you a body. Set up the body in the first moon. That's how you get on the path. And we take it all the way down until the indwelling comes into us, and then we're able to be redeemed from men. We take our offices, we deal with the people in here, because then you remember part of the sacrifice that you're going to be fine flour that makes these little wafers or bread. What for? To feed, to nourish. That's what we're going to do. Nourish the nations that were warring and having all kinds of issues because there was another influence above them, an influence of darkness that was teaching them how to war. the God of war, had the airwaves. And he made sure that they were stuck in that, having all the principalities and powers in high places, keeping them in darkness. But that's going to be removed. Those who are redeemed from among men will take over the spot. Well, if they're redeemed from among men and they have Yahweh in them, what do they have? They have the light. The light. That's what they have at the time. And the light removes darkness. So those who they're shining to won't be dark anymore. They're going to wake up. They're going to wake up. And this, if they wake up, then they make the vessel proper. Because if they don't make the vessel proper, they can't bless themselves. Because Yahweh's not coming down here and saying, okay, I'm going to do this for you, that for you. No, he's in you. Connect. He will be. He's there. You'll create through him. You'll address your brother through him. Everything. And those who are influencing you, that's what they have too. If you're going the wrong way, they're going to say, you're going to hear a voice say, this is the way to go. This is what Yahweh would want. This is not what Yahweh would want. So you keep in pace and stay there. And today, how you have the influence of darkness upon you, if you don't wear a mask, everybody is telling you that you're evil. You're selfish. Okay? They want to beat you down. It's coming with the vaccines too. If you don't take the vaccine, you will be evil. You will be getting everybody else sick because you're not taking the vaccine. And when the vaccine don't work and they get sick, they're going to look at you because you didn't get the vaccine and that vaccine didn't work because of you. They're going to get you. So they want. But those are all tests that the Father puts there. Because part of it, we have to go through what you call this tribulation. And the tribulation is not just, of course, we spoke about atonement, that you atone in a certain manner. Well, it says, afflict your souls. Well, we afflict our souls. And we see what's there. But on the spiritual level, there's a body. The body's being created. And that body also has to go through afflicting the soul of the body. The collective. So you have to go through tribulation. Through much tribulation, you acquire the kingdom, right? That's what it's about. Through much tribulation, you get to go into tabernacles. So these guys are here for a purpose. They're here for you and I. They're here for you and I. We have to play our cards right because we can't let them take us with the 5 senses. We have to reach out to our Father, make that sacrifice, connect. And this way, we're not subject to that. And that's all I have to say today.